At the end of this week's parsha, we approach the tochecha. The tochecha at the end of Sefer Vayikra are the promises for reward if we do the mitzvot, and the punishments for if we don't do the mitzvot. Now, it's an interesting way to end the Sefer, and very often people focus on the tochecha as a unit on its own. It's a part of the Torah that's read quietly and quickly in order to kind of give the impression that these are bad things that we don't want to hear happening and we should avoid them, and trying to give us an impression of sadness. But I think that the tochecha should be read in the context of the Sefer as a whole. The tochecha comes as what we call a brit. It's the covenant. It's the covenant at the end of Sefer Vayikra. And if you actually think about the way that all of Torah is structured, it's really the brit, the covenant that's made at the end of Breshit, Shmot, and Vayikra as a whole. There's another covenant, there's another tochecha at the end of Sefer Devarim. We finish Bamidbar and Devarim, and that's when we have the tochecha in the Midbar, when Moshe Rabbeinu tells us what the promises and rewards are for when we go into the land. And the reason why I have two tochechot is because the Torah as a whole really is split up into two parts. Breshit tells us about the beginnings of our heritage. Shmot turns into how we became a nation, and we got the Torah, and we built the Mishkan. And Vayikra is the book of the ideals of what to use, of how to reach the highest level of Kedusha, of holiness, as a people of God. Now at the end of that, we make a covenant. Once we go out on our way to Israel, and in Sefer Bamidbar next week, we're going to learn about all the downfalls that we had from then onwards. What happens is, we fall down, and we have to rebuild until the end of Sefer Devarim, and that's when we have another covenant, another brit. The brit at the end of Sefer Vayikra actually is not only the promises for reward and the promises of punishment. There is one idea which is so important that's embedded within the entirety of the tochecha, and that is, after Hashem tells us the rewards, He then tells us the reason for the rewards, the reason for why those are the rewards. If you take a close look at the rewards themselves, they all have to do with the land. If we follow the mitzvot, our land will be flourishing, the land will have peace, the land will give fruit, and the land will have lots of rain. It's all about the land. But why? Why should we have sustenance in the land? And the Torah tells us, because if we do this, Hitalachti betochechem, Hashem will walk among us. The land will turn into a vehicle for revealing Hashem in this world, for a connection to Hashem. God and religion and Torah and mitzvahs will not be a theoretical idea which is separated from the land, but rather it will be within the land. We will be able to meet God on a tangible, physical basis here in this world. And that's the rule, that's the goal of Sefer Vayikra, to create v'shachanti betochechem, to create a dwelling place for Hashem in this world. And we end off by telling us that if we accomplish that, the land will bear fruit, the land will be peaceful, so that the land will be a dwelling place for Hashem. And if not, everything's going to go downhill. And that's the message of the entirety of Breshit, Shmot, Vayikra. Next week, we're going to see how that actually folds out in Bamidbar and Devarim, and we'll get to the end of the Brit of Sefer Devarim. Shabbat Shalom.